start with introductions? Matt?
My name is Matt Mickiewicz. I'm the co-founder of 99 Designs as well as Flippa.com. 99 Designs is the largest marketplace in the world for crowdsourced graphic design. We've paid out $36 million to designers all around the world and completed something like 158,000 design projects. And Flippa.com is a hugely popular marketplace for buying and selling websites.
I'm David Greenbaum. I'm the founder of a company called BoostCTR. And BoostCTR does one thing. We only do one thing, but we do it really well. And that is we write ad copy. And we use a crowdsourced solution to deliver better ad copy for a broad range of clients. So some of our existing clients include Walmart, Dell, HSN, Williams-Sonoma, 800 Pet Meds, and then have just a large number of SMB and affiliate clients as well.
Cool. And I'm Sunil. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Scripted.com. We're also writing a marketplace. Businesses come to us to hire from a pool of 80,000 US-based freelance writers, and we sell blog posts, articles, and long-form content to businesses. Some of our clients include Intuit, VeriSign, and a third big name I can think of. I assure you we have other corporate clients. I'm drawing a blank right now. Let's just get into the panel. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's start off with a question for you, Matt. Crowdsourcing, sometimes to professionals, is like a little bit of a dirty word because, you know, one of the biggest criticisms of services like 99 Designs is for the graphic design community as a whole, you're bringing down the amount that people can charge and things of that nature. How would you respond to something like that? We've
certainly seen our fair share of hate mail from design agencies and professional designers who like to charge thousands of dollars for logos. For my first company, SitePoint, I paid $10,000 for a logo, and it took 6 months. So, you know, I think for most companies who are early startup stage, bootstrapped or self-funded, spending an inordinate amount of time on graphic design is probably a really poor use of limited resources and time. I think what we're really doing with 99 Designs is we're making professional graphic design much more affordable to a whole new set of customers who otherwise would have just relied on stock photography and clip art or just do-it-yourself graphics. I think in the same way that iStockPhoto allowed people to buy stock photos for $1 and open up a whole new set of customers, we're doing the same thing with 99 Designs.
David, as far as BoostCTR goes, you write ad copy. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about what your product actually is, and is it more effective than hiring an ad agency?
So basically we work, it is specifically just around the creation of ad copy, but there's also a management component as well. The way that we work is we take a client's existing ad copy, and that establishes a baseline. We then create these contests that our writer network, essentially, each of the writers on our network has the opportunity to compete against the baseline ad copy as well as against other writers. And so collectively, we find that dynamic is really powerful and drives performance substantially beyond what agencies are able to deliver. So most of the clients that I spoke about have agencies, and on average, we've been improving their revenue per impression by over 20% when competing against these agencies by harnessing the power of people competing against each other in this sort of competitive marketplace.
And we certainly saw similar results when we tried Europe for 99 Designs. I think we had a really expensive agency on board, and you just kicked their ass out of the water for a fraction of the price. You boosted our CTR rate like 40–50%, I think. It was ridiculous for like logo design, which is the most competitive keyword that we bid on, which is a couple bucks a click.
I mean, I think one of the common dynamics that, you know, propels all of our businesses forward is that element. You know, when you're outsourcing this work to an agency, you know, you essentially have one person and one person's perspective on the type of work that's being conducted. But when you're putting it into a marketplace, I think the primary benefit is just getting this multitude of perspectives and backgrounds that people bring to the table, which at the end of the day, I think is you know, the core value driver for our businesses.
So since you guys brought it up, agencies, it's like a 4-letter word. Where do you see this, you know, crowdsourcing model taking agencies? Is crowdsourcing going to eliminate the need for agencies, or do you see it as a complementary product? Or feel free to be controversial. I know you like to be, Matt.
I think there's many different levels of design. You have the shit you get on Fiverr. No offense for anyone who gets the logos on Fiverr, but you have that. Then you have, 99 Designs, which is more reasonable price, higher quality. And then, of course, you have people who want 300 pages written about how the swoosh in their logo represents the circumference of the Earth and the alignment of the stars, and, how the color blue represents some core values and other bullshit, So it depends, different needs, different clients. If you want to Google it, there's an excellent 100-page document explaining the Pepsi logo that an agency did for something like 1.5 million. And if you also want to see some really poor examples of expensive works, look at some of the recent Olympic logos, like the Brazil Rio Olympics, the London Olympics. They've had some really expensive and really bad design done. So, quality and price aren't necessarily strongly correlated anymore, especially when you have the ability to tap into a global talent pool.
I mean, I think, the one thing that agencies, I think, do really well is they give you coverage as an outsourced marketer, and you know that certain functions are at least being done. But I think there's a very high rate of turnover with utilization of agencies. And I think at the end of the day, it's tough to know whether the agency is really trying their hardest and performing their best work. Ultimately, I think the services that we're collectively building will be utilized by forward-thinking agencies, and they're going to use that to sort of be able to deliver both higher volume type of work for their clients and deliver better results. Some agencies will utilize these services, others will not, but I think that the dynamics of the agency world are shifting pretty.
An agency is only as good as the person that's working on your account. Doesn't matter how awesome the CEO or the manager or the founder of the company is. If he gives your work to some junior intern straight out of college who has 6 weeks of training, you're going to get shitty results. That's why most SEM agencies, most PR agencies don't provide good value for the dollar. I think what we're all trying to do is provide really good consistency. So all of our clients see consistently good results because we're not relying on a single person to do the work.
Definitely, and I think that there's a lot of vetting that I know that all of us do, and this is maybe a question, we can.
Yeah, this will be another question, but what we're seeing is the equivalent, the analog is the agency, has the relationship with the brands the same way the Hollywood agent has relationships with the stars, and that's the reason that more tech companies haven't, for instance, disrupted the entertainment industry. We tech guys don't necessarily understand the value of those relationships, and maybe eventually, that'll break down, but that's a key part of what they do is manage people. Does anyone here work for an agency or with an agency? No? Good. That's a target market. Okay. Does anyone here use a crowdsourcing product currently, like a 99 or another crowdsourcing product? Yeah? Okay. What do you currently use? Yeah. No, we have an hour. We got plenty of time. Don't worry. But tell us, as crowdsourcing co-founders, what crowdsourcing products do you currently use or like that are on the market for different purposes?
One product that we've used a little bit is usertesting.com, which allows you to have people use your site while recording a video of themselves as well as audio, so they're speaking out loud and giving their feedback real time as they're being exposed to your website. The thing to remember with usertesting.com is as people fuck up and make mistakes using your site, you're dealing with some of the most sophisticated internet users there are. The people who are testing your site through user testing are smart enough to have found their service, signed up, downloaded their browser plugin, and then started creating all these reviews for third parties to earn income. So as you're anxiously gritting your teeth because people are mistyping their email address or they're not seeing the big obvious button in the corner of your site, that's probably the case for a lot more people than you even think. The other really cool thing to do with user testing is not only test your own shit, but test your competitors as well. We actually run user testing against some of our top competitors to learn what they do well and what they don't do well. So in some cases, we know a whole lot more about their business than they do. For example, we know one of our major competitors displays a lot of big brand logos on their homepage. So they like to brag that Amazon and Starbucks coffee are their customers. But when we tested their homepage with real users, we found out that the vast majority of small business users are turned off by that. They're like, Starbucks, they probably paid $100,000. Amazon, I'm a small one-person shop. I can't afford this shit. So people just bail from their homepage. And they've been using the same homepage for 2 years. And they have absolutely no clue that they're hurting themselves. But we do. And hopefully they're not watching this.
I mean, the main one that I use these days is probably Odesk and Elance, if those are even considered crowdsourcing platforms. And primarily, I think one of the things that we're pretty religious about in our company is thinking about processes that are pretty mundane and low level that can be done by sort of just putting it on an Odesk, for example. So the primary type of tasks that we're utilizing those for right now are for sales processes, like building out email lists to go out to, and just sort of, we identify the segments and have people, rather than building expensive scrapers, we just are paying people on Odesk to get the email addresses of people that we're interested in.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, so I've used 99, good product. I'll give you a plug.
Thanks for not getting a refund.
Yeah, exactly. I also use a different product for user testing called Feedback Army, which I love. The great thing about Feedback Army is you don't pay for reviews that are not valuable. You can actually tell how long someone spent testing the site, so you know if their review is basically valid or not, whether they actually looked. So Feedback Army is I'm a big fan of. I've used Odesk. I don't really consider them crowdsourcing, but good product.
The one I also like is uservoice.com. So uservoice basically allows you to crowdsource user feedback. The big problem is when you have a lot of customers, you're getting feedback from all these channels via phone, chat, email, and you have no idea which features and which changes are really important and which ones are not. So what uservoice does, it's basically an online suggestion box, but every user also gets points. They get to vote on other suggestions and basically upvote and rank all the features that your users want. So when we launched 99 Designs, we're getting thousands of emails from our designers. Change this, add this, move this, create this button, blah, blah, blah. But it was really, really hard to figure out what's really important and useful and what just a few loud vocal people want. So by giving all of our designers points and the ability to vote on the ideas that they think are the most important, we're able to prioritize some tasks for our development team. And one of those tasks happened to be take payment up front from customers. Of course, that allowed us to charge a convenience fee, which meant that once we actually rolled it out, we doubled our revenue overnight.
There's one that the name is escaping me that I'm going to start using, which is maybe one of you guys knows or somebody in the audience. It's crowdsourced data analysis. You send a spreadsheet to this site. Kaggle. That one looks awesome.
So big data mining.
That's right.
If you need an algorithm written or you have a ton of data that you need analyzed, you have all these PhD guys who live in math.
Yeah, and they'll basically look at your user data for you and probably do a better job analyzing it than you would for cheaper. So that's one that we're going to start using.
So one of the interesting things that like Facebook and Twitter did early on to boost user retention is they mined all their data and they discovered what makes someone a sticky user versus someone that abandons the service. So in the case of Twitter, is you have to follow, I think, 7 or 10 people within the first week. Otherwise, you're unlikely to become an ongoing user for the service. So as a result of discovering this, what they did is they created an auto-suggested list of users to follow. So they actually built it into their account process to make it really, really easy for people to start following their first 10 or 15 accounts. And that boosted their lifetime retention quite a bit in their activation rate.
So let's talk a little bit about quality of workforce. So there are kind of two distinct camps emerging here in the crowdsourcing / marketplace world. You have like a vetted workforce, and Uber is the shining star here. They vet every driver before they're even allowed into the Uber system. But then you have eBay, which is the direct opposite, right? It's like the Wild West. Anything can happen. Where's this headed? And what are you guys doing about quality of workforce issues?
So I guess in our case, I think that it's actually interesting, depending on the nature of the product that one is crowdsourcing. I think there's varying degrees of vetting are required. So I think I would say in the case of a logo, for example, it's something that you can assess the quality of that logo by just looking at it. And so I think having, you probably don't have the same type of quality requirements in that case. On the other hand, I think, with Sunil and my businesses that are focused around writing, you actually don't know the quality of that until you actually test that ad copy, I think, or that SEO page, for example. And as a consequence, you want to make sure that the people who are providing that are high quality. because that's the one, as long as they have a track record of producing good work, you can expect that their future work will be good. So I think for our business, we definitely take a pretty stringent kind of quality control set of processes, both in terms of having like an upfront screening process, as well as looking at the metrics, performance metrics of the providers within our network, and kicking out the bottom performers and only keeping the top performers. So, for us, it's actually a really critical part of the process.
Yeah, we've taken the same approach, which is we've actually crowdsourced the vetting of our own workers to our own community, and that's worked really effectively and helped us scale very, very fast. So everybody who gets admitted into our system has to be vetted, and I think you're working on a similar product.
So with 99 Designs, anyone can say they're a designer and sign up and start submitting designs, which can be good or bad. A lot of the time, you have unexpected talent that pops up somewhere in the world. On the other hand, you have customers who are inundated with 500 options, and half of them are probably subpar. So what we recently introduced in the past week and a half, is the ability to only have our top tier of designers submit to your contest. So currently, anybody that launches a gold contest only has the top 5% of our designers who can even see their listing. That means we improve the signal to noise ratio, and it's something that we've gotten a lot of feedback on over the last couple of years. People who said they'd use us a lot more often, and they didn't just have to provide feedback to 700 individuals one by one.
So who should be using, crowdsourcing? I don't know what our audience is made up of mostly, but
I had a really interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago in New York. I met with a guy who had a staff who was open enough to let him test every single design change. They created a design in-house. Their in-house designer created a landing page, a form, whatever. And he also ran the same project on 99 Designs, and they did an A/B split test. He said over the course of a year, we won 15 times. His designer won 0 times. He reckons we added about $1 million to their bottom line simply by, having all his major site elements split test. I'm surprised he still hasn't fired that designer.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, so who should be, so we're all rattling off big corporate clients of ours.
But I think banner ad testing, you can run a contest on 99 Designs, get 500 banners, pick 10 and run a split test. Landing page testing as well. You can get a couple good concepts, send them off to PSD to HTML, one of these other chop shops, quickly generate a whole bunch of iterations to test. I think a really key point here is don't let your personal taste guide you with your decision-making process. Don't just pick the landing pages and the banners that you think are pretty and you think will do well, because then you're letting your own judgment potentially cloud the results. You want to pick some outliers. Pick the ugly banner ad with the stick man. Pick the landing page with the really jarring color scheme that you think was created by a 5-year-old, because who knows, that might actually work. And the other thing is those kind of designs are probably unlikely to get if you hire an agency or a freelancer. They're always going to try and please you by making things look pretty. But the reality is that a lot of the time, ugly sells.
Yeah. We already have our first audience question here. We can just kind of keep it casual and keep it going. The only request is if you're going to ask a question, you have to step up to the microphone because they're recording. So.
Quick, but we used 99 Designs also, this was years ago, for a new software startup, and we picked, there were 100 different logos, and my partner and I both picked our favorite, and what we did is we took the top 20 that we liked and let our customers vote on it. And invariably when you survey, which is a great way to do it, they'll pick the one you never would have thought. So the one that they picked by an overwhelming majority, well, I didn't like it, he didn't like it, but in the end, it's not about what you think, it's about what your customers think. So
Yep.
That might be a good feature for you to build in if you haven't.
We have built it in now, yeah. It's fantastic, yeah.
But, I think, I would definitely echo that sentiment as well, just not prejudging. But in terms of who crowdsourcing is appropriate for and different types of utilizations, the way that we actually started our business, I think the way that we started our business was I was working in a company that had acquired another company, and we had to write a lot of ad copy for them. And what we ended up doing was we set up this game within our company, and where everyone from the admin in our group to the VP we're all submitting different pieces of ad copy, kind of like in a game, in a competition within the company. You know,
What sort
against.
of beer were you giving up as the prize for the winner? Or was it cash?
Yeah, it was just pride, but
Okay,
it should have
pride.
been. It should have been a lot more than that. What we saw is, you know, just by taking that process, you know, even people who aren't necessarily in the marketing function of a particular company, you know, some of the people who ended up producing the best ad copy weren't in the marketing group. So I think with a lot of different functions, the idea here is like getting cross-pollination within your company can be a really powerful way to harness crowdsourcing, even if you're not utilizing, you know, any of our existing tools, for example. But you know, I think
One cool thing you can do is you have some friends on Instant Messenger or Skype and you don't want to use BoostCTR, is just do a trade. Have them write some ads for you, you write some ads for them, and make it a fun contest. And that way you get some really outside perspective. I mean, when you're working on something, you're staring at an account for 20 hours a week, you're sort of stuck in a single mindset. But if you get some outside input and, you know, challenge someone to a fun game through Instant Messenger or chat or whatever, it could be a good way to do it as well.
yeah, definitely.
If you don't have any
Family
employees.
members,
Yeah,
yeah.
family members, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a big fan of outsourcing almost everything. I just don't think anyone's really working optimally. Like, so the whole reason our company exists, for example, like how many of you have company blogs right now? Well, how many of you update them as often as you would like to? Yeah, I mean,
One
most
time.
people just don't have time to write, and that's like the whole premise for what we do. But most people don't have time to do a lot of things like write ad copy or learn how to do design. And then, you know, of course, David and I are based in the Bay Area right now, and then the trendy thing is everybody wants to learn how to code because, you know, Rails engineers are going for, you know, just going like hotcakes. And, you know, your time is not best spent coding if you don't know how to code. You know, like you're not going to learn it. You're never going to be as good as you think you are. Outsource it. Crowdsource it, in fact. There are sites that will crowdsource just about everything you can think of. If you don't have time to iron your clothes, like use TaskRabbit.
Or exec.
Or exec. There's a service for almost all these things. I think
Postmates, delivery.
delivery, everything you can think of right now. I mean, it's just you're not working optimally, and all these tools exist for you to work optimally. So use them. Is my
What are some of the more interesting ways that people have used scripted before? Just curious about that.
Oh yeah, so we had a guy outsource his best man speech to us. that was a good one. That was one of my favorite ones. We have people that outsource LinkedIn recommendations for their friends that they promised they would write them, but they don't have time to. So, but still, the primary use cases are blog posts, tweets, and articles.
What about like essays for college?
So we actually delete those. We have had those requests, but for a variety of ethical reasons, we don't accept requests for like college applications and essays.
Yeah, but best man speech is okay.
Best
I
man
remember
speech.
that time we were drinking at the pub.
It just shows you the guy probably made the wrong decision picking his best man. But yeah, maybe he shouldn't have outsourced that one.
No one's done their wedding vows yet.
If they do, I'll do press around that, whether the person
Okay,
likes
I'll
it or not. But listen, you know, we're going to keep it casual. We've thrown out a bunch of ideas here. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask any of the panelists about crowdsourcing, how we use
We can also
it?
talk about PPC a little bit.
Yeah, why don't we get into that? I mean, so who here uses PPC for their business or knows PPC pretty well to acquire customers? Okay, so PPC seems like it could be valuable. Why don't you?
So one of the cool things that we did to distinguish our ad on the search results page is we signed up with resellerratings.com, which allows customers to review your product or service, and then those star ratings get inputted into the search results on Google itself. So if you search for 99 designs right now, you'll see 5 stars under our ad, and none of our competitors have those stars under their ad. So what we're essentially doing is capturing more screen real estate. Number 2, it looks like we're endorsed by Google because we have 5 stars next to our name. No other competitor does. And number 3, it improves your CTR rates. So it's really cool. Plus, people can actually click on the stars and see, you know, the 30 or 40 customer reviews that we've had written.
And to that point, I would just add, you know, further compounding the CTR increase, if you can add site extensions, which are links that will appear beneath your ad copy, it essentially just gives your ad more vertical real estate, which is a really powerful thing. So that's another instant CTR booster.
So you can do site links, you can do address, you can do phone number,
Yeah.
a couple of different things.
Definitely. And then I think another important thing, just while we're on the CTR topic, just from a sort of a tactics perspective, what we see is that if you're bidding to the top of the page, you're going to be getting roughly 15 times the CTR versus if you're bidding on the side. And if you actually go into the ad settings, you can actually break out share of impressions by top and by the side. So it's just, these are all things that are, yeah. It's a new setting. You can actually break it out, and it's about 15 times is what we're seeing.
Wow.
So just a couple of very
So that's
small
in the
things.
Reports?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in
Impression
the
share?
under the ad tab.
Okay.
And I'll get a little pedantic and say that, you know, for those of you who are not updating your blog on a regular basis, like we eat our own dog food, we outsource our own copy to our writers. Our blog is our top referrer and the best source of customers, period.
If you look at Mint.com, which Intuit acquired for like $170 million, their entire strategy was content marketing and infographics. That's all they did. They just create a whole ton of really useful content.
Yeah, so create a lot of high quality original content. You'll get a lot of customers. You can't settle for getting free content or using like some automatic software anymore. Google's gotten way too smart for that. So
I know some affiliate marketers used to like outsource to Philippines like 30,000 articles for $1 a piece for like online education, lead gen stuff. I don't think that stuff's showing up anymore anyway.
Yeah, it's
on
not
Google.
not a good time to be.
So are all your writers in like the U.S. or international or?
Over 80% U.S. The rest of the balance are from the U.K. and Australia. So the longer story is we actually started off as a screenwriting software website. So my co-founder and I built this product that was like Google Documents for screenwriters. And we thought we could originally give away screenwriting software for free and convince producers in the entertainment industry that they should buy screenplays from us. So it was going to be crowdsourced screenplays. And we actually got pretty good headway. We got Ed Burns, the local New York producer, to work with us. We sold a script to Spike TV. But what ended up happening was we realized that side of the business wasn't working. But we amassed a user base of 80,000 writers. So businesses started reaching out to us and saying, hey, can you guys help us with our blog? Can you help us with our Twitter feed, some Facebook posts? And that's how we turned into Scripted. But to build up that side of the marketplace took a few years, and we shut off the ability of like countries that are notorious for being spammers to register for the screenwriting software, which is how the workforce got to a high quality point. We also figured out, this was cool, this was like a deep dive into some data, the number one place people were using our screenwriting software was at the office. So these were professionals who had like 2 windows open, their Excel spreadsheet, which I see ours has gone away, a PowerPoint slide, but the screenwriting software, so the cliche that is actually true that everybody has a screenplay. But that's how we got it. We have an audio hardware company as a client. The guy writing their tweets is working for Pixar as his day job. So it's pretty crazy what crowdsourcing
I tried
has
using
done.
like Odesk to outsource content, but it was really cheap because I was paying them like maybe $15, $20 an hour. But the amount of time and effort I spent managing people, chasing it up, interviewing candidates, keeping them motivated, providing feedback, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, we basically eliminated the hiring and the vetting process. And we pre-vet our workforce. We use 80,000, but only 26% get into the system, and we're flat rate.
Yeah.
And we do a rewrite.
I think that's sort of the thing that 99 Designs also did very well. People don't really care who does their writing or who does their logo, who does their ad optimization. You just want it done and done well and to a high standard. They don't want to have to go through a process of looking at portfolios, reviews, star ratings, whatever, having people do test writing skills, whatever, design skills.
I think that's right. I mean, as long as
Huge hassle.
as long as you only care about the end product, crowdsourcing is great. But if you care about who you work with, it may not be so great.
Yep.
But I think it's definitely taking over. It feels like more and more companies are using crowdsourcing. I saw a couple of hands, and we should definitely get to the questions. You have to.
I think when the booths pop up tomorrow, the share sale booth was designed on 99 Designs.
Awesome.
That should be cool to see.
It was just a question about link extensions that you were talking about for PPC. I have designed landing pages for all the different Google ads, have A/B testing going on for everything. So my worry, I do want the additional real estate, but if they're clicking on the link extensions, it's taking them somewhere else within my site. and my site's not the easiest to kind of convert the customer. So I'm wondering if I'm going to be hurting myself, if there's any studies. Does the additional real estate mean that they're clicking there, or is it just leading them to click the ad?
So the overall propensity of the click-through rate is going up. I'm not honestly sure about your ability to track the conversion rates from the sublinks. You know, how it depends on how you're...
I think Google is going to try and claim credit for every single sale they can. It's in their best interest.
Yeah, but whether it would be, I guess the referring URL, yeah, I guess you would see it go through to the landing page, whichever landing page you've enabled. But honestly, I think it would be a function of looking at the propensity of the different landing pages to convert, and weighing that off with, you know, potentially the lower conversion on the subpar pages relative to the higher CTR. So that's you know, sort of the trade-off I would think about. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, the thing that you care about is conversions per impression, most likely. You know, a combination of that and cost per acquisition. But
The other thing to think about is doing site links specific to the ad group and the ad category. So if someone's searching for logo design, for 99 Designs, the site links might be like logo design pricing, logo design case studies, logo design gallery, or logo design money back guarantee. But if they're searching for freelance graphic designer, the site links might be a web design, brochure design, logo design, business card design, like our product categories. So you can kind of help people get to where they need to be much faster with site links. But essentially what it does, it turns more of your pages into landing pages, which means you need to work harder on conversion optimization.
On Scripted.com, do you have a platform that will also help people build links?
So I'll repeat the question. Does Scripted.com also help with link building? The answer is no. So we don't do anything like short form. What we will do is if you have articles, you specify certain keywords and you want links on the article, we'll do that. But we don't send off our workers to do link building. A good company, if you were talking about crowdsourcing companies that might be good for that, is maybe Crowdflower would be good for that.
Yep.
Crowdflower would be a great place to go if what you care about is link building. Matt will know a little bit more about this than I do, but some of the old link building techniques, even as recently as 6 months ago, aren't going to work as effectively. Going and commenting on blogs and things like that have already been...
The thing I would do, for example, would be to use your service to write guest blog posts and then get submitted to other blogs and use that as a link building strategy. Most blogs are more than happy to accept high quality content as guest submissions. I think I'm a writer for Fortune, Forbes, Fast Company, Amex, Open Forum, and they're always needing more content. I just don't have enough time to write it. But if I could, maybe outsource some of that, I could get some high quality links for $49 or $99 a piece.
Yeah, that's right, and that's worked. So I guest blog for TechCrunch, GigaOM, and some others, and that referring traffic is extremely high quality referring traffic. So don't, I wouldn't, just reach out to any blogger. They'll accept your post. As Matt said, that's a really good strategy.
Can you talk about what sort of detail the customers for Scripted have to provide in terms of content? Do they need to come up with specific topic ideas and headlines, or can they leave up a lot of the brainstorming to your writers?
It's really up to the customer. Most of our writers are smart enough to think outside of the box, but some customers upload custom guidelines that they want for specific types of projects, and they want more control over the project. But probably the thing I'm most proud of is our acceptance rate across every piece of written work we've delivered today. We have a 97% acceptance rate after one rewrite. So, and that's thousands and thousands of posts. So that's where the vetted workforce comes in handy for us. Are there more questions at the, there we go.
Just curious, for some of the crowdsourcing, take Scripted, how do you normally price in a crowdsourcing context like that? I mean, it's a bit of a different model than, say, the Elance dollar per hour approach, is it?
Yeah, flat rate works for us, and this is also another school of thought that I think Matt's probably in Sync with Me, they're your flat rate for most of your services, right?
We suggest 3 packages for customers, and we let them go custom if they really want to.
And
There's
David-
always a segment of your customers that will spend way more than they have to. So we have customers who want to spend $3,000 or $5,000 for a logo. Doesn't necessarily mean they get a better result, but if that's their budget and they have to spend it all, it's good to give them that option. You know?
Yeah. And what, are you flat rate?
We have both flat rate and percentage of spend models. And for the so for the SMB segment, you can buy ads on a per ad basis, on a basis where you're only buying ads that improve on your baseline. So we have varying degrees of performance that you can opt for.
Yeah, and as far as if you're asking why would you go flat rate versus, floating rate like an Elance?
Just curious how it works from like the planning blog and 10 articles and email marketing series, and what sort of pricing like that is.
Yeah, and we're flat rate. If you go to our site, you'll see the pricing. We do offer bulk discounts for customers doing high volumes of content, but we're completely flat rate. Take the guessing out of it. We have other audience questions. If not, I'll ask another question. You have to.
I know you guys said that you're trying to disrupt the agency model sometimes. Have you guys found that sometimes agencies come to you guys wanting to kind of act as almost a reseller?
Take this one.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely working on behalf of some of the largest agencies. So I won't name them, but I find that, I think some agencies, collectively, are afraid of sort of each of the individual services that they offer sort of being decomposed by sort of different point solutions. But we've found that typically the larger agencies are more comfortable with our type of solution because I feel like they feel less likelihood of sort of the customer leaving. They know that their customer base will need an agency. And for example, we only provide one very small piece of the total solution that an agency would provide. The customer will never leave the agency for us. On the other hand, there are some, sort of more mid-market agencies. I think that some customers are on the fence. Should they be using an agency or should they be pulling together a collection of sort of best-of-breed services and sort of managing them on their own? And so I think that sort of the mid-market agencies tend to be a little bit more cagey about working with us, at least. But in the long run, I think the agency model is a difficult one. I mean, I think you basically have high-priced employees in New York, Chicago, LA, people in their early 20s, typically not a ton of experience, and they're being marked up at pretty high rates. And so, for example, one of our customers is HSN, and they're using an agency in Chicago. And it's unclear that you want some 20-year-old hipster kind of writing for HSN products, for the crystal pendant, relative to work-at-home moms who actually are thinking about buying these products and who are the real core demographic of it. And so I think what we are allowing is for people who are actually customers of these types of products to be the ones who are actually producing the ad copy that they feel like would most appeal to them. So it's, I think, in many cases, taking this sort of more, broader segment of the marketplace that we're essentially unlocking and sort of wouldn't have, they're able to work in 5-minute bursts of, an ad takes about 5 minutes. You're able to tap into this new resource of workers, and they do a better job, and they also do it at a higher volume, higher intensity than you'll get from an agency.
I think when I did the math on our agency, I figured out we were paying about $400,000 or $500,000 per year equivalent, just based on the percentage spend model for someone that I probably wouldn't pay $100,000 a year to as an employee. Absolutely ridiculous because you're paying a full-time salary for part-time work and effort. Typical account manager might have 4 or 5 clients that they represent, plus the account manager switches every 3 or 6 months. And you have to start all over again and training them and bringing them up to speed. It's really, really crappy.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I was just going to say, we love agencies. One agency has outsourced their entire content marketing efforts to us, and we view it as like a way to scale. We're actually agnostic. If an agency wants to resell our product, mark it up 3x, we have a pretty nice API built. They have 5,000 to 6,000 customers. It just helps us get more reach. Of course, it sucks for you guys as the customers, but Unfortunately, we got to play nice with the agencies. At least, I think right now, there's no end in sight. I mean, they're still going to make their money.
Our best customers are agencies as well. They just know how to run contests, how to give feedback. They get logos for $300 and sell them to customers for $3,000, and the customers are none the wiser most of the time.
And I've seen this new breed of agencies come up that are just using crowdsourcing products.
Victor and Spoils,
Okay.
that's one, right?
Victor and Spoils. There's a few others. Like I've known a few PR agencies. All they're doing is outsourcing their press releases, not just to us but to others. So, be careful. I mean, when you hire that agency, you might be buying a scripted blog post or a 99 Designs logo. But we, agencies are our best salespeople, at least for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think collectively the crowdsourced marketplaces are just elaborate sort of filtering mechanisms. We set up our own distinct sort of efficient workflows, and we take, we focus on one thing, create, an efficient workflow around that, and have done all the filtration for you in terms of, being able to find signal to noise, I think, is the real benefit of using a crowdsourced marketplace. You can, with all of our businesses, if you went directly to, let's say, Craigslist, for example, you'd be able to find people who would provide the service that each of us provides, probably for a cheaper amount.
Or Fiverr.
Or Fiverr for that matter. And so we offer one layer of sort of quality control on top of that, but still a very significant discount to what you would get if you were to use the agency as your filtration layer.
Yeah, think of us as like, it's a bad analogy, but Kirkland brand, right? So like when you go to Costco, anyone shop at Costco, and you buy Kirkland brand, the beer is Gordon Biersch. The shampoo and the conditioner, it's Paul Mitchell. And it's the exact same product. That's it. But some people want to buy Paul Mitchell, some people want to buy Kirkland. And we're Kirkland. Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I can ask a couple more that I've been wanting to ask these guys. Anyone have any questions for these guys? Okay, so what about legal issues around crowdsourcing? What if someday somebody creates the most beautiful homepage of all time, but you find out that elements of it were stolen from every major website, and you sell it to a client? What happens?
Well, the great thing about 99 Designs is because it's a competitive model and the designers can see each other's submissions. You essentially have crowdsourced vetting. You have crowdsourced due diligence on the design, which is something you wouldn't typically get if you hire a freelancer agency. You have dozens of pairs of eyes who have a pretty broad knowledge base amongst themselves. So it'd be very, very unlikely that it would make it through. It would get reported and taken down before you ever see it or before it ever gets awarded as the winning design. But ultimately, the designers have legal responsibility as part of the contract that they sign when setting up to produce original work.
So David, what if I hypothetically used your product, and I know it's a very good product, but I'm a big client and crowdsourcing didn't actually work? What do you do, or like how does that work?
You have a money back guarantee?
We used to. We don't have a money-back guarantee anymore. But that said, we have literally not come across a client where we have not been able to improve and it's not just CTR, it's also conversions per impression, conversion rate, quality score. But where on the key metric that they care about, we have not been able to boost it by at least 10% in an aggregate portfolio of the work that we're working on for them. And I just think that there's a very, at least as it relates to ad copy, this is an area where most of the people who are responsible for producing the ad copy, that it's the one part of the whole search engine marketing equation that actually the customers interact with. But most of the people who are producing that are primarily analytic. To be a search engine marketer, you need to be pretty analytical and even somewhat technical. And so the people producing this ad copy are just not really, they're not good at writing ad copy and they don't like to do it. And so.
But the thing you can do is once you have some winning ad variations, you can roll those headlines and those value propositions back into your landing page. So if a certain headline or spiel that worked in the ad copy, then you can integrate it into the landing page so that you have continuity. Definitely. As well. Like one of the things that we did with our ad copy is we switched from 100% money back guarantee, which everyone under the sun offers and basically has little to no meaning these days anyway, to 100% cash refund, which is a lot more appealing even though it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things, about that type of an approach, I mean, there are a couple of things there. So one is the ad copy is at the very top of your funnel in terms of, of your conversion funnel, and it's getting the most number of impressions, and you're able to sort of split test and try different variations much more easily on the ad copy, side of the equation rather than on the landing page, because there's a lot more volume behind
10
that.
times as many impressions.
Exactly, yeah, at least an order of magnitude higher. So in terms of testing out new messaging,
I think Tim Ferriss did that for his 4-Hour Workweek book, right? He just tested like 20 different headlines with AdWords and see what got the highest click-through rate.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another sort of trick along those lines that I'll often, I often hear people trying or utilizing is, if let's say that there's like a new product or new service or new business that you're interested in launching, people will go out and buy the ad copy for that without even, they'll send it to a landing page that says coming soon.
LaunchRock.
I'm sorry?
LaunchRock.
Unbounce is another one.
Yeah, it's great landing pages, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the idea is like, why even go ahead and like build anything, you just take it to a, sort of a placeholder, but iterate and try the messaging, see if, before you build anything, see if there's any resonance in the marketplace.
It's the ultimate lean startup.
Exactly.
An
Yeah.
AdWords ad in a landing page coming soon, sign up for a waiting list.
Exactly.
Thanks.
But I
And
think
it gives you a good base of people to get feedback from, because then once you have that waiting list, you can start emailing them suggestions, concepts, how would you use this, how much would you be willing to pay for it, what have you been using to solve this problem in the past. You immediately get to talk to customers without having to spend months and months building an entire fucking thing.
exactly, and you can test out different value propositions. I think it's a really powerful way to sort of do market research on the real customer segment that you're going after.
I always cry when I watch that show, like Dragon's Den or whatever, or Shark's Den, and people are like, I spent 3 years and $3 million of my own money building this better fork. And it's like no one wants to buy it. They could have just tested it like without spending so much time on R&D and development.
Yeah, no, I think that's
And then Mickiewicz tells them to fuck off. And they're
that is kind of depressing.
So I guess, are there any more audience questions? Because we're on the last 10 minutes or so. So we have a couple more questions. So for those of you who have outsourced work before, do you feel comfortable outsourcing overseas? If you do, raise your hand. Okay. Oh, all right.
child labor.
Yeah, that was off the record. So what about, outsourcing like overseas versus domestically? Is this going to be an issue in coming years where, the government will somehow get its hands, on this industry if it's really booming and crowdsourcing? Are we going to see more offshore outsourcing? Are we going to see more domestic outsourcing? What's going to play out here?
It's globalization at play. We're just seeing, a flatter world essentially. Even law firms in the U.S. are now outsourcing a lot of paperwork and contract writing out to India. Accounting firms like Deloitte and Pricewaterhouse have entire teams that are trained in North American standards overseas. I think, other people deserve the opportunity to improve their livelihood, make a better life for themselves and their family, and you can't, stop it. And that's what always frustrates me with entire arguments against 99 Designs. You're ruining the graphic design industry and putting people out of business. We're creating so much opportunity for people overseas. We have videos on our site. There's like meetups of 150 people in Indonesia and Jakarta and all these places. And we've basically allowed people to improve themselves and their livelihood and follow their passion. People are passionate about certain things. They have skills that they want to put to use, but they might not have the capability to do so locally because they don't have the fancy office in Midtown Manhattan, the nice Brioni suit, and $2 business cards printed on with gold plating.
So I would definitely, I share a similar sentiment to Matt that I think it's pretty, I think it's great actually to be able to create opportunity in other, places, other places in the world. But I actually think it's also a good thing domestically. I think it's good for our domestic economy as well. In that, I know that, for example, when I was starting BoostCTR, I could not have afforded to actually start the business if I had to hire full-time people and if I couldn't hire people off of Odesk to do the coding. And so I think it creates an opportunity to actually build infrastructure when you're at, when you're at an early stage. these types of businesses couldn't get created, I think, if it weren't for the.
Yeah, we have a similar story. The first iteration of Scripted, because we wanted to test it, was built by a Pakistani developer who worked for $5 an hour and was built for $2,000.
I think Dig was built the same way, wasn't it? The
And-
story behind Dig was outsourced for like $2,000 or something.
We would have no way of knowing if it would have worked out or not had we not built what was essentially a glorified project management system, but with outsourcing, crowdsourcing, whatever you want to call it, it makes it much easier. So we're on our last few minutes here. Maybe if there's something that you guys want to say in closing about like crowdsourcing, how people here can effectively use it, or anything like that.
The one cool
Closing.
thing we do at Flippa is crowdsource due diligence. We sell 5,000-6,000 websites every single month, websites with traffic and revenue and email lists and members and Twitter followers. And one of the things we implemented very early on was the ability for anyone to ask questions in a public forum. So essentially that allows people to have crowdsourced due diligence on an asset they're buying. They're not the only ones that have to come up and think of questions. With people who look through all the files, look all the documents that are being submitted for a particular auction, come up with really good questions, post them publicly, and essentially everyone else who's looking at that auction and exposed to the auction can benefit from the answers, which I think is a fantastic way of speeding up our process and reducing the risk for everyone involved.
I mean, from my perspective, and looks like we have a question also. I think we're just touching the tip of the iceberg in terms of what crowdsourcing can help to improve on. I mean, I think there's definitely been a proliferation of these types of services recently, and I think essentially what we're all doing is taking existing processes that are kind of difficult in one way or another. They're either very mundane, they're not done well, they're done too expensively. And we've created sort of a more efficient workflow around it. And I think it's, there are just a lot of, instances where this is able to create huge value both for the customers and for the people providing the work. And I think there's a lot more that could be crowdsourced and a lot more opportunity, to build these types of marketplaces.
I think ultimately you're encouraging good behavior as well. Like PPC ad testing can be painful and arduous and all this stuff, and people like always stop, go with their testing, but here they just sign up and good shit just happens in their account on a constant basis. With Scripted.com, having to hire writers, interview authors, having to vet their submissions, having to come up with ideas and headlines is painful. They can sign up for a package of 10 articles a month, and all of a sudden you have great content on your blog without having to spend 10 hours a month reading submissions and brainstorming ideas and doing English editing or whatever.
Yeah, and that kind of gets to my last point, which is yes, you should outsource as much as possible. I mean, I'm a big fan of crowdsourcing, obviously, but like basically everything you think of can be outsourced in some way, shape, or form, and you're almost never performing optimally. So you should consider any service, or consider some of these services. I'll close with 2 tips about customer acquisition that we learned really early on. And one of them was the woman over there asked about link building and blog posts. What Matt said is right. Every blog on the planet is looking for free content, and you can build up lists of bloggers using actually Odesk workers and Technorati. Technorati has a list of like the top 100 blogs by each category. You build up a list, email every single one of them. You would be surprised at how high your open rate is, and you can essentially guest blog and drive huge amounts of traffic to your site just by doing that.
And you're getting high quality links, not just people who respond to emails saying, can you please include a link on this page? You're actually getting authority links from respected blogs. Like you say, top 100, Technorati.
And you ride their traffic, which is great.
Plus it's instant credibility as well, because you can say, as seen on TechCrunch, Mashable, Fortune, whatever.
Precisely. The last one, which is a little bit of a shadier customer acquisition strategy, we have to close with at least one, is
It's Affiliate Summit after all.
is when we were trying to build up our writer base earlier on, the Meetup.com was the most effective, and here's why. So there's a little loophole in Meetup where you can email entire groups. So you join the group, you introduce yourself, you join the group as yourself, but they expose email lists for entire groups. So, and every time you receive a Meetup email, it looks as if it's coming from you. So let's just say you join a group and you care about movies and film and TV, and there's 2,000 people in that group. it's as if when you join that group and email the group that they're seeing an individual email from you. You're allowed to send up to 3 of those a day. So you can essentially be hitting 10,000 email addresses in one day, not being flagged as a spammer, and riding that wave to customer acquisition. But then you multiply it by hiring Odesk workers, giving them email addresses from your own company, and all of a sudden you can reach tens of thousands of email addresses a day. That's my little tidbit. At least hopefully you got some value out of that. So there was one more question.
Actually, if you don't mind, just so I understand that, when you join Meetup and you join a group, you don't see, you see the name, like I'll see your names, but I won't see your email. Where do you see
What you do is you go to message board, and in email, like it'll have a general email address for the group. Not every group exposes that email address, but it'll be something like filmsociety@meetup.com. But it's under the message board link, and not every group is going to have it. I don't know what % of groups have it, but good enough amount that it can be effective.
I may have missed this when you mentioned this before, I don't know, but did you say that you can also outsource ad copy at your sites, or did you mention other sites?
This guy is the ad copy guy if you want PPC ads and social ads.
Right.
We don't have an ad copy product. We don't have it. We do longer form stuff. We're like 300 to 1,000 word type content.
I missed it, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Unless anyone else has any questions, we're happy to hang out for a bit. Thanks for coming.
Don't forget to fill out feedback forms, comment cards, and we'll buy you beers.
Thank you.